morning, everyone.
I would like to welcome to my new style of show Sarah, who is my very first guest. And today we're talking about selective mutism. Sarah, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Sarah is a mum of a very young girl, and she is only 3.5. Now, a lot of people say to me, 3.5? Really? But actually, yes, we can already notice children and their fear of communication from as early as that. I say to parents, notice is not so much about the label, it's about the effective strategies that we use to support children. The earlier we support them, the earlier they get better, because then we can get entrenched. If we go on to believe, oh yes, she will grow out of it, and can I just tell you, there isn't such a thing, because I would hate your child to be 8 and you saying to me, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't muted. So Sarah, tell us all about you, and you're from the UK.
Yeah, so we live in the northwest of England, near Wigan. It's just myself, my husband Matthew, and our 3.5-year-old Florence.
So tell us, when did you start noticing that there was just something a little bit more than she's not communicating outside?
So we noticed with family and friends that we saw often that it was very, very timid around them. She didn't speak. It took her a long time to warm up, even to go anywhere near them. We're talking grandparents, aunts and uncles, so her closest family apart from us. And then in January 19, when she was nearly 2.5, well, just over 2, she started at a nursery a few days a week. And they told me, you know, after a few weeks, she loved going. She was happy. I never had any problem after a couple of days with her going in, but she was very, very quiet. Didn't say anything. And then I think what really hit home was this was January until the July, in the July we had real problems with her eating at nursery, and I was talking to her key person, and she said, just to let you know, Sarah, as well, she really is really quiet. I said, well, how quiet are we talking, you know? And she said, I think I've heard her say 2 words in 7 months, maybe 3 words. So that for me.
So at this point, Sarah, we have a very chatty little girl at home. Yap, in all sorts.
Loves singing.
Oh, that's right. Then went to nursery, enjoyed very much a surfacer. I'm looking, and then she stopped, or she started to have difficulties also eating at nursery.
Yeah. I think also what alarmed the key person was that when she fell over once, the first time, and really hurt herself, she cried silently. So the tears were coming down, but there was no sound. And that got me really upset to think that she's at nursery and she can't even cry. She can't even make the sound for crying.
With selective mutism is very much about somebody hearing your voice as well as communicating. And they go on to believe from a very early age that silence is their best friend. And it's crazy, isn't it? Because you're thinking, what have we done? And that's something that a lot of parents ask me, and I'm just saying, absolutely nothing. Is one of those, it's a phobia, and phobias make no sense. Why do children, or why do adults have a funny reaction in front of specific animals? They've never met that animal unless they've read about lions. But sometimes we're talking about even like an insect, and you should see the reaction. So the same thing is for their voices. So what happens next? So obviously you waited 10 months to see a pediatrician, which I'm glad that actually they saw her. But really,
they didn't actually see her because it was supposed to be literally around lockdown. Yeah, so I didn't see her. We didn't see them. But the
okay.
speech therapist was really, she is quite young, and you know that's great that she's now met a case of selective mutism. She has turned around to me since and said, "You know more than I do about this." I decided that knowledge was power, and because from my experience, um, it seems that selective mutism falls into this kind of void between speech and language therapy and maybe mental health, psychology, pediatrician side of it, and both seem quite timid from my experience to deal with it. So I was really lucky and fortunate that Maggie Johnson is coming up to the Wirral half an hour away from me.
Oh, amazing.
About this was about it was in November. So I did a 2 day, it was a 3 day, but I did the first 2 days. And I learned so much. I met speech therapists, exactly what you're saying. Some had maybe an hour, maybe 5 hours on selective mutism in their training. Some had none at all. One speech therapist told me that she had this nightmare session with this poor child. She took the child out. She sat down expecting, nobody had told her as a young speech therapist that this it wasn't speech sounds or anything this child had an issue with, it was selective mutism. So I don't think they realised. And she just sat there and she panicked as the speech therapist because she didn't know what to do with this little girl. So she put herself on a course to learn about selective mutism, which is wonderful. But I would so love all speech therapists to have to mandatory do a week on it, or just so that when they meet a case, they're not giving out the wrong information. So after a month, she came back out, which was great. I was so pleased that she would come back out and see her again. I chatted to her. I took all my evidence, all my anecdotes, and we sat down after having seen her again. And nursery reiterated that after, because what she did do on her first visit was she left information about selective mutism for the nursery staff who hadn't come across it before. And actually, the Senko was reading about it and said, "Oh yeah, this is foreign. This is what we're seeing."
What strategies did you find that worked best with your child?
So I found I was doing it all wrong until I went on the course, because I was saying to people in front of her, she's not going to talk to you. She won't talk to strangers. She won't talk to other people. Then I went on Maggie's course and I learned to count. So I count 71, 72, 73, 74, 75 in my head before saying anything. If she didn't say anything, which most of the time she wasn't, it was, I'd say, oh, today, she's not feeling like speaking to you, but she might do another day. Most people were fine. I did have 2 incidents. One, a cashier who told me I was rude for not, and she was rude for not saying thank you for her handing something straight to her. So I said quite bluntly, it's called selective mutism that she's got. Google it, because she was that rude. And I also had a guy in the C-Lev Centre who said that she was making him really sad because she wouldn't talk to him. And I think it's very alien for most people. If you say you've got a fear of spiders, or you've got a fear of the dark, or you've got a fear of bumblebees, people get that. You say that you've got a phobia of talking, people are like, haha, don't be silly.
What changes have you noticed since you have started to understand more? So what changes with her?
So I now don't say, really try not to say anything about selective mutism in front of her when we're out. If people ask her, for example, we had a breakthrough quite a few months ago now, I think it was in January, where we were ordering a lunch basket in a soft play, and they asked her if she wanted an orange or purple fruit shoot. So they asked her, I left the 5 seconds, and then I, in her ear, just said quietly, Clarence, do you want orange or purple? And she said purple. And now she will say things like that. She will say one word to say what she wants, chicken nuggets, things like that. So she will communicate in front of other people, especially if it's something she wants.
Yeah, so lovely. So really what you explained is that you wait, you give your child option, you allow
Yeah.
your child to communicate via you, but she's using her voice, so you're desensitizing. So that is amazing.
Yeah.
So what would be your word of advice to other parents?
I think don't give up. Um, there are, different areas won't touch selective mutism at all. You could look into getting a private speech therapist. I think it's important to get it recognised, but I also know that I've gone into nursery and done some work on maintaining factors. That's really helped her. She's starting to talk there now. So don't give up. Try and get support. Use the Smira Facebook page. Listen to people like you. You get so much.
Being together, so everybody
Yeah.
speaks the same language, connect with other
Yeah.
parents, and you'll find all the information really down below. And we really want parents to comment, let us know what is your experience. So what would be your word for communication, Sarah?
Communication is fundamental, and so therefore doing as much as I can to help Florence overcome this as soon as we can, because I've read all the research that says if you put all the techniques in place early on, can really help, and that's what I want to do. It's fundamental to life, and I want her to be able to communicate with the world. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, I would like to really thank you, Sarah, for the time that you spent with me today. If parents or any other people have comments, if they post them below, both myself and Sarah on YouTube will be so happy to answer.
Yeah.
And it's so actually lovely to hear her voice. So I always end up the video saying that every day is a new day. We make our own sun.
So I would like to thank you so much for being here. Any questions? Pop them below and I will answer them when I can.